production of the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Today on Farm Week, it's a feature story edition of our show. We'll go to Iowa, where an agribusiness had a going out of business auction after 137 years. Its inventory resembled a museum more than a commercial business.
We have two Southern gardening segments for you today. Find out how to pick plants that will look good in more than one season. It's also time to plant the sun coleus. It will thrive in full sun all the way to frost.
Our last feature story today is about a subject that some people find unbelievable. Prescribed burning can actually help southern pine forests and the wildlife that dwells in them.
It's important to remember that for hundreds of years, fire has been a part of the pine ecosystem in the southeast. It helped to control underbrush. It helped to promote native grasses and native forbs that are important for wildlife species, and also helped to reduce wildfire risk.
Good day, everyone. I'm Leighton Spann.
And I'm Artist Ford. Welcome to Farm Week. Today, it's a feature story edition of our show.
Artist, today's first feature story is about a company that operated in 3 centuries, the 19th, the 20th, and the 21st century. Last September, Balster's Implement and Parts Company of Scotch Grove, Iowa, sold out after 137 years in business. The going out of business auction attracted people from many states, because the inventory included many items considered antiques today. Market to Market's Laurel Bauer-Bergmeyer reports. Now, we apologize in advance. This story has a few audio difficulties, but we think the story outweighs them.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get this show underway.
Virtually an entire Iowa town went on the auction block this fall. Touted as one of the biggest antique auctions in the world, the sale included 7 acres of land and 16 buildings containing tens of thousands of items.
Auction companies once in a while will talk about a sale of a week or the sale of a month or the sale of a year, and this literally is the sale of a generation.
The tiny town of Scotch Grove was bustling in September when treasure seekers and reminiscing locals descended upon it for an enormous auction. Items up for bid were from the Balster's Implement and Parts Company. For 137 years, the Balster family had a variety of enterprises in Scotch Grove, including a gas station, lumber yard, implement dealership, and grocery store. Locals used to say, if you can't find it, go to Balster's.
We were just very good friends of the Balsters.
95-year-old Vernon Helgens lives on a farm near Scotch Grove. He worked for the Balsters in the 1930s.
The Balster family was ahead of their time. Well, you'd go over there and they had hot running water. They had hot water radiators to heat their house. They had a bathroom. You see, at that time, most of us had a path and a cold seat, if you want to put it that way. But they were ahead of their time. They were people of knowledge, people of ambition, people that wanted to make things work, you know.
We certainly felt like we had a role to play as far as the business that we were in. You know, with farm implements, hard to find parts as it came later to be. But we just tried to service the community and the public and had a longer reach because we actually sold every state in the United States. We had anything that basically a person would need for farm and home.
David Balster and his sister Susan Zazas represent the 5th generation of Balsters. Their great-great-grandfather, Aaron Balster Sr., came to America from Germany with his parents in the mid-1850s. And he set up a blacksmith shop near Scotch Grove in 1874. His son, John, or J.C. Balster, opened more businesses in the area in 1912. But he died in a car accident shortly after, leaving his son, Aaron Balster Jr., to take over at the age of 19. Aaron Jr. continued to run the family business until his son left and took it over in 1968.
So we went back 3 centuries worth, 1800s, 1900s, and 2000s. And so to me, that has a huge significance, you know, just to trace the culture, how it's changed in 137 years. And so we had kind of that continuous legacy of that. And I think the thing that I think the family and Susan and I definitely have appreciated is at least for a moment this week, people got to appreciate that history.
David and Susan say the business meant everything to their dad Les, who ran Balster's Implements and Parts Company with his father Aaron Jr. and then on his own for 69 years. After he passed away in 2009, the family decided it was time to end the business and called in an auction company to stage a once-in-a-lifetime sale.
So I came down thinking we had a couple buildings and a few items to sell and a tractor or two. And what I found is there's generation upon generation of equipment and supplies that are in pristine shape.
Graf Auction Company, based in Minnesota, was the lead auctioneer for the Balster sale. When the auction crew arrived 7 weeks before the sale, the Balster buildings were bursting at the seams. Workers struggled to walk between stacks and stacks of merchandise. They found hundreds of thousands of retail, wholesale, and service items on the shelves and floors, many still in their original packaging and displays.
Many of these parts are not only collector value, but they're still utility value. So we have Amish here from throughout the country that have come here because it's such a wonderful offering of parts and implements that they still use as a utility piece, but you can't find them new anymore.
Promoting the sale as a time capsule of America, auctioneers set up a massive 4-ring auction. Items sold included vintage signs from the 1920s, sickles and shovels from the 1940s, and unopened cans of oil for Model Ts that brought $1,800 apiece.
These are cross buck saws, 5'6" and 5-footers. You'll never see anything like this again, any kind of sale like this again, so pretty neat to be part of it.
I got these wooden bearings for old, like the hold behind horse disc. A lot of people didn't even know that this stuff was here. One guy told me he wanted a canvas for his Oliver combine, and he had the Amish make it. And here there's hundreds of them here.
Graf Auction Company said it received emails and phone calls from interested parties all over the world. Even the Smithsonian Institute called about the Balster sale.
To have one family own all of those businesses and have them all full of inventory, I don't believe I've seen it. I have people in the industry said they've never seen it, and I don't think we're going to see it again. It is that unique.
While seeing their family's business come to an end is bittersweet for the Balsters, they find solace in the legacy their father and generations before him established as the main proprietors of Scotch Grove, Iowa.
He would be amazed. He would be amazed that all of this stuff got cataloged and sorted and is going to be distributed to different buyers and that we've done it.
On the core of it, I think he would be happy with what's happened, just with the recognition and the fact that people care.
It makes you feel a little sad. It's an end of quite an era of time, but they have done their job well.
For Market to Market, I'm Laurel Bauer-Bergmeyer.
If you're interested in watching this story again, go to our Farm Week website, farmweek.msucares.com. You can also find us on Facebook and YouTube. And we'll also have links to the Market to Market website where you can see that story and read the actual script. Again, it's all at farmweek.msucares.com. And you can certainly see, Artist, why that brought people from all over the world.
Well, you know me. This is my kind of story, to see the vintage equipment like that, and like you said, to see, that's what we call in the in the old car game and the old farm equipment game, that's called new old stock. In other words, it's stock that never got used, hasn't been made since, but is sitting there waiting for somebody to get. So, and to have that kind of, 137 years, I mean, like I say, this business started out in the 19th century and it went all the way into the 21st century. And towards the end, that's what they were known for, people who wanted to find antique parts for whatever they collected, they would end up calling Ballsters. And so now that's been dispersed out just a little further. Well, it's time now for the day's trivia quiz on Farm Week. And it's about the number of broilers being grown in Mississippi. Do you have any idea? How many eggs were set for broiler chicks in Mississippi during the last full week of April? That's this year. Was it 885,000, 1.3 million, 13.2 million, or 17.7 million? We'll have the answer right after today's Southern Gardening Stories. And today on Farm Week, we have not one, but two Southern gardening segments for you. A garden should offer year-round interest and beauty. And in this week's Southern Gardening segment, Extension horticulturist Dr. Gary Bachman shows us some plants with multi-season interest.
In the spring, it's easy to add landscape color, but what about the other seasons? Every gardener's goal should be to have something interesting in each season. Today I'm at my friend Catherine, seeing how she has been designing for multi-season interest. A plant that needs to be used more is Cytisus spacianus, commonly called sweet broom. This densely branched shrub produces mounds of yellow flowers in the spring. Though these plants are small now, this shrub can potentially have a 5-foot spread. Always plant to the recommended mature size. The dwarf loropetalum with its deep burgundy leaves is the perfect contrasting companion for the variegated spurge. Catherine uses bronze-leaf begonia and lanai verbena to add splashes of color. And look how the gloriosa daisy is really living up to its name with this display of bright golden yellow. One aspect I love about being in the coastal counties is being able to grow tropical plants in the garden. This planting of cutleaf philodendron and sago palm fits the bill. The vertical leaves of variegated snake plant add interest. With its blade-like shape, this plant is called the Sword of St. George in Brazil. The crane statue and other art enhance the landscape. Don't make your garden a single-season wonder. Use your imagination to bring multi-season interest to your landscape. I'm horticulturist Gary Bachman for Southern Gardening.
Now, many people see the coleus at the Fall Flower and Garden Fest in Crystal Springs, Mississippi, and they think of it as a fall plant. Well, in our second Southern Gardening segment today, Dr. Bachman says it can thrive starting in the spring and grow in full sun.
Coleus has moved from being an obscure shade plant to a popular plant that thrives in our Mississippi summer sun. Trial sites like the South Mississippi Branch Station in Poplarville let gardeners see the latest creations. Through the efforts of plant breeders, Coleus colors have become rich with highly variegated selections. With a growing season from spring to frost in the fall, Coleus belong in every garden and landscape. Great sun Coleus selections for your landscape include yellow and red Fiesta Cherry, dark purple and lime green Solarset, finely lobed burgundy and gold kiwi fruit, and the lime and chartreuse Mississippi Medallion winner Electric Lime. While most Coleus have an upright growth habit, there are some selections that have a spreading growth habit like Trailing Rose, with burgundy leaves and chartreuse colored edges. This would make a fine and colorful ground cover. When several selections are planted together, like in these trial beds, the landscape can take on a carnival-like atmosphere. To keep Coleus producing the boldly colored foliage, be sure to pinch off flower heads. Many of the new selections, like Coleus Cranberry Salad, are very slow to produce flowers, if at all. Coleus has undergone a remarkable breeding transformation. They're foolproof landscape plants and provide vibrant color all season long. Try some in your landscape. I'm Gary Bachman for Southern Gardening.
Gary says with the many colors available, you should be able to find a sun Coleus to your liking.
It's time for the answer to today's trivia quiz on Farm Week. It concerns the number of eggs set to hatch broiler chicks in Mississippi, and this is for the last full week of April. The answer, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, was almost 17.7 million eggs. Now that was actually down 5% from the same time last year. Mississippi is 5th in the nation in broiler and egg production.
We're going to pause now for a break on Farm Week. Coming up, we'll have the calendar and one more feature story for you. See how fire handled properly can actually increase timber and wildlife production in southern pine trees. It's called prescribed burning, and it can help prevent wildfires.
Each year, many Mississippians are seriously injured or killed when farm tractors overturn. Don't become a statistic. Avoid rollovers by staying away from steep ditches and pond banks. Slow down and operate tractors at a safe angle to the slope of the terrain. Always keep loader buckets low when transporting materials and inspect the work area for obstacles such as stumps, holes, or washes. A message from the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Before we get back to our last story, let's look at the Farm Week calendar. A native grass and cattle field day will take place Thursday, May 31st at the Prairie Unit of the Mississippi Agriculture and Forestry Experiment Station. That's located on Highway 382 west of Aberdeen. The hours are 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. There's no registration and lunch is provided, but you are requested to pre-register. The sessions will deal with managing native grasses for cattle production. Planting, growing, making hay, and wildlife benefits will be covered. You'll also be updated on the unit's native grass grazing trials. Can I Still Make Money Growing Trees is a forestry workshop that will be held Thursday evening, June 28th. The location is the East Mississippi Electric Power Association office on Highway 39 North at Meridian. You'll learn about the timber market outlook and where to find government cost share assistance. Go to our Farm Week website at farmweek.msucares.com for information on these and other events. Now check out this week's Farm Week Snapshot. Our last story today takes us to Lumberton, Mississippi to visit a couple honored for their commitment to conservation. Orby and Brenda Wright were honored in 2010 with the Outstanding Conservationist Award by the Mississippi Association of Conservation Districts. Some find it hard to believe that fire is one of the tools that the Wrights use on their property. Farm Week visited the Wrights when a prescribed burn took place. It actually improves wildlife habitat in the southern pine ecosystem.
We like the longleaf ecosystem, and we've been in several programs that help us with that also, to promote the gopher tortoise, and it's great for fox squirrels and quail and turkey and deer.
Orby Wright and his wife Brenda bought the land in 1988 that would eventually become Quail Hollow Ranch. You wouldn't know it today, but the Wrights say the land was pretty well cut over and needed reforestation. The Wrights sought out public and private forestry expertise and developed a plan to restore the property. 14 years later, in 2002, they were the Mississippi Forestry Association's Outstanding Tree Farmers of the Year. The next year, they were the Southern Region Tree Farmers of the Year. In January 2010, they received the Wildlife Conservationist Award from the Mississippi Association of Conservation Districts. The Wrights love the outdoors so much, they burn it.
It's important to remember that for hundreds of years, fire has been a part of the pine ecosystem in the southeast. It helped to control underbrush. It helped to promote native grasses and native forbs that are important for wildlife species, and also helped to reduce wildfire risk. If you look in the western part of the United States these days, in California and Montana and those type of areas, you see that we're always having wildfires. And the primary reason is because we've taken fire out of the equation.
Rush Walsh is the president of the Mississippi Prescribed Fire Council and the chairman of the Lamar County Soil and Water Conservation District. Walsh says the southern pine forest and its wildlife are adapted to fire. As long as the fire stays out of the treetops, southern pines can take the heat. The fire also clears out the understory, creating anew the habitat that the animals of the southern pine ecosystem need.
Fire just starts the process of plant succession over. We reduce the woody growth and the hardwood competition. We reduce all the dead grasses. So right after a burn for the summer, several summers after the burn, we have all of these lush plants coming back, all these native grasses and all of these broadleaf weeds that are going to provide food sources and cover.
The proper use of fire in pine timber and wildlife management is called prescribed burning. As the name implies, it's not done indiscriminately. It's planned for the given area to be burned. A person certified in prescribed burning creates the prescription.
The certified prescribed burn managers have gone through the burning short course in Mississippi. And they learn about weather patterns, they learn about firing techniques, they learn about fuel loads and fuel conditions and right burning conditions. They know all of the pieces to the puzzle of prescribed burning.
To legally conduct a prescribed burn in Mississippi, you must have a notarized burn plan for the site. A certified prescribed burn manager must be on site during the burn. You must secure a burn permit from the Mississippi Forestry Commission on the day of the prescribed burn. There are advantages to following the law. By using a certified prescribed burn manager, you have an experienced person who knows how to conduct a prescribed burn where it won't get out of control. Following the law also gives you legal protection.
If you have followed the letter of the law, which means you've had your burn plan, burn manager on site, got a burn permit, then if a fire gets out and causes damage to a neighboring property, then they have to prove negligence, that you were negligent on your part. And if you followed all those steps, it's going to be very hard for them to prove that negligence.
The Wrights conduct prescribed burns every year, but they do not burn every acre every year.
Longleaf, typically this we burn every other year, at least we try to. And then of course we rotate different areas and leave some unburned areas for nesting for the turkeys and quail.
As fires move through here, they're not just going to be in that stand and get burned up. They're going to move out, but they've got cover to go to because we haven't burned all the property at one time. They've got cover to move to. So wildlife are very resistant to prescribed fire and also very adapted.
Just as I went up the house a while ago, is bringing the water back, there was 4 fox squirrels in the front yard. Just, you know, you have geese in the back, and I saw 2 big turkeys walk across the yard this morning, and you know, that's just something that not everybody, you just can't have without working at it.
Prescribed burning is not done simply by getting on the upwind side of a track and allowing the fire to sweep across the entire track at one time. Torches are used to set fire to small strips, working from the downwind edge of the track to the upwind side. This keeps the fire manageable, out of the treetops, and it's much less likely to jump the fire lanes. Smoke is one of the biggest concerns in prescribed burning. Weather conditions must allow it to rise into the sky. Smoke that stays on the ground could create dangerous driving conditions on nearby roads.
The biggest factor that we face with burning today is smoking in highways and residential neighborhoods, and that's where that burn permit really comes in and says, hey, smoke is allowed to disperse well today.
Gary Blair, South Area Vice President with the Mississippi Association of Conservation Districts, says the Wrights were deserving of the MACD's Wildlife Conservationist of the Year award. They're involved in reestablishing the gopher tortoise on their property. Blair says the Wrights have also assisted the Lamar County Soil and Water Conservation District by hosting education events for landowners and youth. The property has been a training site for the MACD-sponsored Envirothon competition.
A lot of our programs now are geared toward education. I would say that's our largest component, is educating not only the public and the farmers and the landowners, but also our young people, our students. We do a lot of our programs are geared toward our young people and getting them aware of what conservation practices are and what things that they can do to assist the natural resources that God has given us.
Using poplar lumber salvaged after Hurricane Katrina swept through their property, the Wrights have built a creekside pavilion.
That's something that we wanted to do, and it gives us an opportunity to have a place so that we can have the school kids come in, and we have field days down here and things like that. It's it's an ideal spot rather than in a more residential kind of setting.
Brenda Wright says getting young people interested and knowledgeable about conservation is vital.
Well, if the young people aren't interested and don't learn about it, it ends with, you know, these generations. But most young people, given the opportunity, they love the outdoors.
If you're interested in watching this story again, you can go to our website, farmweek.msucares.com. You can also go to our Facebook or YouTube pages. We'll also have telephone numbers and links where you can get additional information on prescribed burning. That's farmweek.msucares.com. Well, we are at the end of Farm Week for this week. On our next show, a forester who leads by example.
Charles Dismukes, the present Mississippi Forestry Association Outstanding Tree Farmer of the Year. Dismuke started his forestry career as a 4-H'er. He's also responsible for funding forestry scholarships at Mississippi State University.
In Southern Gardening, Backyard Resorts. See how to turn your backyard into a private vacation getaway. For the rest of the Farm Week crew, I'm Artis Ford.
And I'm Leighton Spann. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.